Welcome back. And in this video, we are going to continue working on a sensitivity analysis spreadsheet. Previously, we used this data to calculate the yearly cash flows of the project for 5 years. And now we want to move on to calculate net present value, profitability index, IRR, and MIRR. So we are going to use the NPV function of Excel. And the first item we want is the discount rate we're going to use for the net present value. And we will use the weighted average cost of capital given here as the discount rate. But a client now wants to know the values. So for the net present value to work in Excel, we are going to use the future cash flows first. And then we're going to add the original cash outlay or the whatever cash flow happened at the initiation of the project. And that is our net present value under the current conditions. Now, for profitability index, what we want to do is take the net present value minus the initial cash outlay, and then we divide it by that initial cash outlay. So, in other words, we're going to take this net present value minus that. Now, the reason we do minus that is because we're looking, we want that negative on negative effect. And then we're going to divide that by the original cash outlay. Now we're doing cash on cash. We're doing cash on cash. So that's why we're putting that negative to convert that to the 650,000. And that is our profitability index for the project. Now, internal rate of return. We're going to use the IRR function in Excel. And all you do is just grab all the values together and close it out. And that is our internal rate of return of that project. Now, for the modified internal rate of return, we do have another function in Excel. Now, once the values first, let me 1 second. And once the values first, that is going to use but it's going to need a little more information. There's a finance rate and a reinvestment rate. Unless specified, what we do is we use the weighted average cost of capital for both items. So you put it in the next two items, and that is our modified internal rate of return. Now let's get to the sensitivity portion of the exercise. This right now gives you a picture with this specific information. But what if some of these things change and they're not exactly good estimations? So how would my net present value change, for example, if one of these were to change? So we are going to work with these here. These are the ones that we're going to assume change. Technically speaking, you can do a sensitivity analysis on any variable you want, but we're going to work with these, for example. So one way to do that, an easy way to do that is we go ahead and let's add a side table here. We're going to call that sensitivity percentage. Right now, let's say nothing changes. and everything is going to be 0%. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to be able to write a percentage change here. So if it changes by this percentage, how would it affect my NPV? So the way you work with Excel is, let's grab this number, for example, and we're going to convert it to a formula. So we're going to put the equal sign in front of it. And then what we do, allow me 1 second. We're going to multiply by some kind of rate. Growth rate is the formula. Future value is the same formula for everything. But you can either grow it or reduce it by a certain amount by multiplying it with 1 plus whatever percentage is here. So because it's a 0 right now, the number will stay the same. Right? So let's go ahead and do that with all these. And we will put it in practice as soon as we are done with it. Well, since this is the same, I can just drop it. The price multiplied by some kind of change that we're going to input later. The growth in sales can change as well. And finally, we modify this one to this one. All right, let's take a quick look to make sure everything looks right. So you want the original number, and you can grow it or reduce it by some percentage. So now what happens is, let's say, okay, you know what? What if my unit sales growth rate is not 8%? It is actually like 5%. So I put a negative, or it's a 3% lower. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say 5%, but let's say it's 3% lower of the 8%. So I can put a negative 3% here. And let's go ahead and put that there. So if it drops by 3%, now notice, I'm not saying that it went from 8 to 5. It was a 3% change. So 3% of 8% is 0.24%. So this is doing a change, or a percentage change, not a reduction in that sense. If I wanted this to bring down to 5%, I could easily here on the side do a 3 divided by 8. So we're looking at a drop of 38%, which will be massive. And that's what you see closer to 5%. But okay, the point is that let's start from the top. Okay, so let's say the terminal land value, we estimated at 350,000, but we really don't get that. We're off by 10% on the high end. So what if it actually drops to 315,000? So that's going to change. My MPV was about 140,872 earlier. Now it went down to 124,573. So now you know that if you don't sell the land for what you thought, your NPV starts going down. You're still positive, but now you know what happens with a 10% fluctuation on your terminal land value. And you can do the same. What if I have to drop the price because it's not selling? So you need to drop the price a little bit to sell more. So let's say I'm off by 5%. So now your NPV went from 140 to 107. So 5% drop in price from 250 to 238 dramatically dropped your net present value. Now, sometimes things go well, and let's say the demand goes up and you can increase price. Okay, so if there's an expectation that the price might go up by 5%, now your net present value went up. So the point of the sensitivity analysis is that you can set up the values that you want to see change with some kind of, with a growth formula tied to another set of cells here. Okay, and then you can change one by one. Now remember, in sensitivity analysis, you're looking at changes of one by one. So let's say you find a way to lower your variable cost, then by a 6% change, your NPV went up, your profitability index went up, and everything else went up. But if something happens in the future where your variable costs go up because the supplies, the materials you need to process this project, then you might end up with a much lower MPV. Now, clearly, you can see that you can change multiple variables here if you want to see the impact of different changes. But when you're doing sensitivity, you're only doing one at a time. We'll speak about other methods when you want to change multiple variables at the same time. We will stop our video here and see you on the next one.